This video is brought to you by our supporters on Patreon. If you want to be part of the community that makes content like this, head over now. Ben Duckett does not leave the ball. He goes after everything. That is his signature style. Well, actually, no. Perhaps now he is best known for Duckett's Buckets, his new hat range. I don't know if Herbert Sutcliffe sold his own hats, but I would definitely have bought them if he did. But Ben Duckett does, so you don't need to be left alone without one. Chase down your own Duckett's Buckets today. Welcome to Third Innings. Jarrod Kimber here. A team or a cavalcade or random people will be turning up to chat this game with me very, very shortly. But in case you have been under a rock, Pakistan decided to forfeit their game against India. Sadly, the game did not go ahead. It was not played. Certainly in no way that we understand a contest should be played. I was going through all my stuff the other day and I realized I've got shirts for India, Pakistan, Sri Lanka, and Afghanistan. And I did used to have a Bangladesh shirt, but it shrunk so much that I don't have it anymore. So I have decided to wear winners' shirts on these. But I've been so busy during this tournament so far. I've been watching the games, but I haven't been able to do any lives. And this is the live I start with. I would much rather start with one of the ones where one of the associate teams struggled than this. This was poor, painful, awkward. It's funny because there was a point at which you're looking at these two sides, and someone might have said this on Twitter, it might have even been shared with me recently, where you look at these two sides on paper, and you do say there's actually something about the Pakistan side that is kind of, I won't say based on, but it's got a similar shape to India, right? You know, the seam bowler, all-rounder who's, you know, quite often using the new ball, and mystery bowler, and, you know, left arm wrist spinner, and all these different things. It's quite similarly shaped, you know, all-rounders who can, you know, bat higher up in the order and can bowl a little bit. He's the great man himself.
Hello.
but then you look at this side, Behram. I was just saying that the teams are really similar when you look at the structure. But, like, Pakistan are just so much worse in every single position. Right? Like, there's no position at which you go, ooh, they've got an advantage here. And I don't know how you overcome that. Like, maybe in a one-off game, you know, if they get to the knockouts, they could, you know, or the knockout, you could do it. But realistically, I just don't know how you do that at all.
It's a fantastic observation, Jarrod. And you mentioned how you're winning a winner's jersey. Here's the loser's one, which is, I think, quite neat, right? Ultimately, India...
That's pretty good. Do you guys sell those at Pro Sports?
No. This is by Toonities. I don't know why I keep marketing this shirt for them, by the way, because they haven't sponsored me or anything. But a comprehensive victory for India, right? 7-wicket win. They won by 25 deliveries to spare. Could have been worse, honestly. The fact that they chased this down in 15.5 overs, I thought that was a bit late. Like, Sky and Tilak were just knocking it around for forever. Let me draw one comparison for you, right? You mentioned how the teams are very similar in their structure. They're set up in a similar manner. It's really true because Pakistan have Sufyan Mukim as their left-arm wrist spinner. India have got a better one in Kuldeep. Yeah. Pakistan have Abrar Ahmed as their mystery spinner. India have a better one in Varun. Pakistan's seam bowling all-rounder is Fahim Ashraf, and India have the best seam bowling all-rounder in white ball cricket in Hardik Pandya, right? Nawaz is not as good as Akshar. You've got all of these similar kinds of players, and they both bat deep, but Pakistan's fifth bowler is a gamble. India's fifth bowler is not. Their sixth bowler, Shivam Dubey, doesn't even get to bowl. And yeah, I mean, look, this was a terrible, terrible display of T20 cricket by Pakistan. I don't even know where to start, man. Like, you tell me.
Well, as you know, we've been working on this piece for the last couple of days about Babar and Rizwan. And it's basically why they're not in the side and how T20 goes. But during this innings, you also see why Pakistan's been holding on to them so tight, right? I think Varun's coming in a little while, but I think I'm just trying to see if I can find the stats. You'll like this. It's fascinating. So in the games where they've had both of them together, and this will be in the feature when it comes up later, but in the games when they've both played together, so 94 times, right? And they've been bowled out 12 times in those games, right? Yeah. 37 times they haven't played, and they've been bowled out 8 times in those games. So what you have is, and this is what I was trying to come to grips with in the piece, is you have this incredible consistent system that still doesn't win you championships, right? And so there's a part of you that's like, we have to upgrade it, we have to go to something else. While also looking at the fact that India were like, 40 after 4 overs or something, or 3.5 overs or something like that. So
it was fascinating.
There's no right direction. If they had made 160 here, India still would have absolutely smashed them, right? And yet
Agreed.
you can see why people are going to be sitting there going, well, if we had Babar and Rizwan, and it's like, yeah, you still would have lost, but it would have been more respectable. I don't know what's better.
Yeah, I think at one point Pakistan were 72 for 6, and someone on our live at Pro Sports said that, had Babar Rizwan been here, Pakistan would have been, in a much better position. I was like, they would be 72 for 2, right? They would be at the same score.
I like that.
But they would have more wickets in hand. So as you said, even if Pakistan scored 160, that wasn't going to be enough runs to trouble India. I am really surprised, actually, that Salman Ali Agha opted to have a bat after winning the toss. Because in my mind, the only chance Pakistan had was bowl first and get quick wickets. So early inroads in the power play, put pressure on India. They wouldn't know how much of a score is enough, and they wouldn't know what to expect from Pakistan's batting. I think that was a trick missed by Salman Ali Agha. He tends to always bat first. That's been a trend in his captaincy. But then ultimately, man, the gulf between both sides was there for everyone to see. You mentioned Babar Rizwan. You wrote that piece, which, by the way, I've been hyping up on the Pro Sports Live as well. So keep an eye open, guys. You mentioned how Babar and Rizwan in their prime were really good versus spin. They wouldn't get dismissed, but they wouldn't score quickly. Versus finger spin, I think you said that they had a strike rate of 112. That's the issue over here. Now look at today. Kuldeep Yadav was on a hat-trick at one point, and he ends up with 3 for 18. Akshar Patel ends up with 2 for 18, and Varun Chakravarti ends up with 1 for 24. That's 12 overs, which have combined figures of 6 for 60. And the worst part is the one over that Abhishek Sharma bowls, which they should have absolutely smashed. They score 5 runs, and one of them is a full toss, which was just kind of, swiped down to long on. In 13 overs of spin, Pakistan managed 6 for 65. This is a very, very grave issue, I think, that, whilst this team tries at times to bat with intent, but then again, you are so pedestrian versus spin. At the power play mark, Pakistan were 42 for 2, and I was thinking, all right, you take that, right? India have brilliant bowling lineup, 42 for 2 ain't bad. At the 10 over mark, Pakistan were 49 for 4. In 4 overs post power play, they added 7 runs and lost 2 wickets. Unacceptable. Salman Ali Agha was 3 off 12. Abhishek Sharma smashed 31 off 13. Those are like two polar opposite innings on the same spectrum, Jarrod.
It was ridiculous. If you go back, I want to go back to the end of the power play. It's really interesting. I was messaging Robbie actually about it, and then he was suddenly realised he was commentating. I didn't realise he was commentating this game, but we were chatting about it when Bumrah came on for the 3rd over. Right?
Yeah.
Varun Chakravarti comes on for that first over in the power play, and they score off him. Right? They look comfortable against him. And then Bumrah comes on, and there's the big 6, and, I think they get, 8, 9 runs off that over. And I'm thinking, they're ahead of the game here, because we've just seen Varun Chakravarti look like the ball wasn't coming out of his fingers, right? Maybe it was due or whatever. Yeah. And they're in a decent position. And as you said, that's it. The game is just over after them, because they don't score another run. They don't look like they can stay in either. And, I think it was Sanjay, Robbie, and I can't remember who the other commentator was. They kept saying the same thing. Look at the shots they're trying to play. They're trying to hit, even when they were making runs, it was like they're trying to hit 4s and 6s by just muscling everything. Whereas you look at the different way that some of these other fast-scoring teams play around the world, where they're like, no, well, let's hit inside-out over cover. Let's look for the gap in the field or whatever. And you look at Pakistan, and it looks like old-fashioned slogging, right? That's how I felt. It was old-fashioned slogging or old-fashioned ODI middle overs, right? There was there was nothing else going on, and it's so weird to look at, a side like this and try and work out what they're actually doing. Oh, the big man's come.
Oh, Varun's in, and Varun, I actually have a question for you straight up off the bat. Pakistan, we were just talking about how poor they were, by the way. They played 63 dots in 20 overs. That's more than 50% of the deliveries. And to Jarrod's point, it's not like they can knock the ball around for singles either. There was no strike rotation, so it's either wild slogging, and they're playing too much off the back foot versus spinners, which they cannot read. Or, it's just dead batting stuff, right? It's not even knocking it around. This was torturous to watch, right?
No, it was horrible to watch, yeah. this game was just designed to punish me because it was just like what am I watching here? Like it's also like the worst part for me is watching Sahibzada Farhan basically just become a worse Rizwan and Babar.
Yeah.
In this whole
That's
thing,
a very
I
really
was
good
like,
point.
yeah, I'm like, okay, I was on the Sahibzada train, right? He was like giving me 15 of 8s in the Tri Series. I'm like, I like this. Okay, he's getting out, but I'd much rather this than suffer through Babar and Rizwan again, and then he becomes them. And a much worse version of them, because if at least with Mohammad Rizwan in the PSL, he used to be 32 or 32 every game and then strike at 300 at the death, right? I'm like, he didn't even do that here. Like, I'm like, what the hell was the point of all of that?
I agree that his 616 of 8s in that Tri-Series were far better than this 40 or 44. And this is the guy that they brought into the team for high-intent batting in the power play. And he's supposed to demolish spin, whereas versus spin, it looked like Jarrod was batting. No disrespect, Jarrod. Right? Like that.
I'd be disappointed if I batted like that. No, it's just you look at it, and it was we did the piece the other day, and people get really nervous if you're an Indian fan, and you should, because let's be honest, if you're an Indian fan, you should absolutely shit this tournament in. And if you don't win this tournament, you should go and hide for a little while, because you are so much better than each and every individual side in this. And if you don't believe that after today, I don't know when you're going to. But you look at this and you're like, these other teams just aren't even playing the right kind of cricket. And it's upping the intent. Nisanka's a really good example of this. And, we've got a piece about him coming out soon as well. Nisanka's a perfect example of a player who's gone from a classical stylist anchor, who Varun would hate, to a very respectable T20 player who could score at good rates. But he's not Abhishek Sharma. He's not Tilak Varma. He's not reaching those kind of heights. So even when these players upgrade themselves, they're upgrading themselves to people who wouldn't even be fringe players for India, right?
I just have a question. Why are all the Asian teams trying to be a verse 2022 Pakistan? It feels like all of them are just dependent on the bowling, and none of them can bat outside the top 3. Like, what the hell's going on there?
My question is, why is Pakistan selling us this fake dream that they're trying to play high-intent cricket and then scoring 7 runs in the 4 overs post-power play, losing 2 wickets? Like, what the hell was going on over there? Salman Ali Agha is the captain. We talk about India's transformation under Rohit. Rohit was the guy who, upskilled himself, and the team bought in because Rohit turned into Rohit 3.0. Salman Ali Agha scored 3 runs in 2 overs. Tilak Varma scored 31 runs and 13 deliveries. That is literally 2 ends of the same shitty spectrum. Or, well, Salman is on the shitty spectrum, right? And I get it. Like, the surface was slightly sticky, like a little slow, but the pass score was at least 175 over here, or 180. The outfield was soggy. That didn't seem to bother India too much. And I mean, I just saw no game plan for Pakistan. If you just want to kind of, negotiate some overs, you at least rotate strike. There was no rotation of strike. Everyone kind of shat the bed. Their best batter was Shaheen Shah Afridi. He slammed 4 gigantic sixes. Yeah. He was unbeaten on 33 of 16 deliveries. And in a way, Pakistan's best bowler was their high-performing part-timer in Saim Ayub, 3 for 35. Or Abrar, maybe for none for 16. But it paints a picture. The guy who's not supposed to be your best bowler is your best bowler. And the guy who's not even expected to bat is scoring an unbeaten 33 of 16.
And you look at the final score, and they're 127. And it actually flatters the way they batted.
Yeah.
Right?
True.
Like, it makes them look like they batted better. And as you said, a lot of it is just that Shaheen went absolutely nuts and started hitting balls and doing all sorts of things. So it changes massively. In fact, they made what? Was it 9, 10, 11? Or was it... No, was it 8, 9, 10 or something? Made all their runs, didn't they? Didn't they make like 50 or 60 between them? I'm trying to look at the scorecard, count all these things at the moment.
Yeah, Sufyan, he scored 10 off 6, and he slammed Bumrah for 2 boundaries, by the way. A really classy shot down the ground, and then an aerial cut, and I was like, what the hell were the rest of the guys doing? And as soon as Shaheen started slamming 6s, I was like, wait for Abhishek, guys. This is about to get real nasty.
Okay, here's one for you. So I know we did a big piece on Sanju Samson recently, and so we're a little bit Sanju coded, right? But you look at the way that Sanju Samson plays, and you can kind of understand why India don't need him, right? In the team that they have at the moment, right? Fine. You look at the way that Pakistan try and score runs, and you're like, they don't have a single Sanju Samson. They don't have anyone. They have players. I mean, was it 2 big 6s off Bumrah in the power play, right? The big slog over mid-lawn and the big slog over mid-wicket. But they don't have anything. And then they have guys who don't go out for a couple of balls in a row. They have absolutely nothing between those 2 extremes. They don't have any batting skills. And I know, we make lots of fun about Kartikeya at times. And, he's doing well on his Substack and everything else and seems to troll all of Twitter. But you look at batting like this and you're like, they don't have 6 or 7 Andre Russells, right?
Yeah.
what they really need is players with high level talent to chip the ball around and go for boundaries, right? In between. And how many times it looked like they were either going to hit a 4 or a 6 or just not score at all. There's no gray game, right? It's all completely binary when you look at them. And you don't want to judge them too harshly based on this particular game because they're going up against a really good attack. But they had dragged themselves back into it and they got rid of 75% of Bumrah's overs. And then they played worse.
Yes. I mean, I was very skeptical of Sky's captaincy at that point. I was like, why are you giving Bumrah a third power play over here, especially when Pakistan have made a bit of a recovery? Ultimately, I'm proven wrong. He was right to give Bumrah a third over because he's probably not even going to be bowling at the death, right? And Pakistan actually scored 28 runs in Bumrah's 4 overs, which I think is remarkable. Mostly thanks to Sufyan Mukim at the end, and then Saibzada scored those 2 swipes for 6. But the issue is absolutely what you're saying, Jarrod, over here, that there are 2 extremes. They are polarized in the sense that either Pakistan are completely shutting up shop where they can't even rotate strike and they're not even attempting to rotate strike, it's just dead batting, or they're going for those wild slogs on which they sometimes connect and sometimes they don't. So when you talk about modern day cricket, you should also think a bit along the lines of pragmatism. You know, India have got one of the best or the best spin bowling attack. If you're not scoring 6s, you got to score the singles. At least negotiate the middle overs so that you can go out at the death and perhaps pose somewhat of a total. This 127 total did flatter them. Shaheen completely, saved their asses. It was saving grace.
Yeah, it's a weird one, isn't it? Because of India's power, and we talked about it in that piece the other day, just how much quicker they can bat than everyone else. You do have to go out there and score. But at the same time, I think players are, when they get told to up their intent, there is an issue sometimes that they don't understand that up their intent doesn't necessarily mean you become Andre Russell, right? Like your better option, if you're looking for role models, your better options are probably players like Maxwell, Sky, Butler, which are players who are using the gaps in the strike, even taking a ball off just to find a single when they have to, and then waiting for the right matchup or the right field movement or the right zone to be able to hit the ball where they want it. And I was just looking at that and what it looks like is a team who is confused, who is being told to go out there. Now, I've talked to a couple of people behind the scenes who do think that this Pakistan team is building towards something, right? But they did admit it's too soon. And when I watched the team today, I was like, that's what they look like. They look like a team that is, as we said before, structurally, you can outside of the 93 openers, you can kind of see the structure of this side coming together, right? But what you can't see is the understanding of when to press the button, when not to press the button, how to press the button, and everything else. And it really does look like a team that is sort of in work experience mode, right? And they're going up against the best team in this tournament by so far. Right?
It's not even the best team in this tournament. It's the best team in the world. They are the defending champions, of course, in the format, and they've been ridiculously consistent. Now, I also agree that it's a bit too harsh to judge them on this game because they're operating somewhere on that sort of level where you've got teams like Bangladesh, the West Indies, perhaps Sri Lanka, maybe not quite New Zealand because New Zealand really, utilize their resources optimally. So there is that. I think that sets New Zealand apart a bit. But yeah, man, look, under Mike Hesson, Pakistan have won 11 T20s out of 16. I think it's been like an upward trajectory, but the gradient isn't as steep, right? Like it's kind of like this, and they've unearthed some new players, but those players were kind of exposed today. Like Hassan Nawaz, for instance, he can smash spinners when the opposition teams are weak, but when it comes to the big boys, he has struggled. Yeah,
I mean, they've won all those games, as you said, but who... In the last series, it was UAE and Afghanistan, so absolutely fine. They played. They won 2-1 against the West Indies.
Yep.
I think they're about at the same level as the West Indies at the moment. I don't. Both of those teams are sort of retooling a little bit.
Yep.
They beat Bangladesh in the other series, right? What was the best win? Was it the New Zealand one? Was Hesson in charge for the New Zealand one? I can't remember.
I think the best wins were versus Afghanistan and Sharjah because in those conditions, you'd say Afghanistan a pound for pound a better team than Pakistan. But they play like Pakistan of 2021. Par totals and we'll defend them with our bowling attack, right?
Exactly. But what we're saying here is that they've won 11 out of 16, but this is a jump up. Right, you said they were the best T20 team in the world. There's obviously, there's a very good argument that they are the reigning World Cup champions, and also just there's a lot going on with that Indian side at the moment. I don't have any argument for that. But the jump up from playing Afghanistan, who are a really interesting side, right?
Yeah.
and UAE and Bangladesh and the West Indies and all these other sides is huge at the moment. And that's the issue, is that the haves and the have-nots are so separated. And a lot of it comes down to strike rate, right? Because the bowling attacks aren't as different. The India one is magnificent. But some of the other teams, the bowling attacks aren't absolutely as magnificent as India's. But it doesn't matter because you can't keep up with them with the strike rate anyway, right?
Exactly.
And so it's so hard. And so there is extra pressure on a younger side who's being told to come out here. I don't think, you tell me, you know more about the inside stuff. My guess is they didn't come here to win this tournament in Pakistan. They came here to see what they needed to do for the World Cup, right? And so they're going to experiment a little bit more. And maybe what we saw today was, when you experiment and you end up with in the movies where you end up with all the experiment on you, that's kind of what we saw here.
Look, Pakistan, obviously a team in transition, and they're playing an extra batter, so the fifth bowler is a concern. But then Saim Ayub was the fifth bowler today, and he takes 3 for 35. So, that part might be not as big of a concern right now. I think Pakistan wanted to give themselves a really good shot at winning the Asia Cup by continuing to trying the same formula over and over again in the build-up. In fact, it was the Tri-Series final. That was the first time they tried both of the spinners in the same game, Abrar and Sufyan Mukim. So I think they probably wasted too much time not doing that initially. But I also feel that Pakistan would have to play really well or good cricket to make the Asia Cup final, because it's not going to be easy work for them to kind of defeat Sri Lanka, Afghanistan and Bangladesh. Those are teams which are operating at an even keel. I still feel that this team deserves time to either succeed or fail. Pakistan or the PCB should not be reactionary. You give Mike Hesson time, you give them till the end of the T20 World Cup, and then we can draw conclusions. And then you have Babar and Rizwan playing in the Big Bash League in the meantime, where they can either prove their mettle or reassure everyone that they shouldn't have been in the team, right? There's that as well. I think that India is too steep a challenge for these boys, but then again, man, from 42 for 2 in the power play to 47 or 49 for 4 in 10 overs, that's where you lose the game. You cannot outbat India even if you were a good side. These guys scored 61 for 2 in the power play without breaking a sweat. They were 42 for 2. Pakistan's power play scored in 3.5 overs. So the only chance they did have was perhaps have a bowl, reduce India to maybe 160, 150, and then maybe you give yourself a shot, even though you'd probably still lose that, right?
So here's the other way of looking at it, right? The power play bowling is probably India's worst phase, both batting and bowling, and they only made 42 for 2. So it's like, it was only going to get worse from that point, whether it was not batting or bowling.
You say that though, but Varun, if you go back and look at the last 3 overs of that power play, I was talking about it before, that Bumrah, they bowled Bumrah the extra over, which I think they did in the first game as well. So obviously that's part of their theory at the moment, right? And the ball was swinging, so I've got no issue with it. He didn't get a wicket, but he could have got a wicket, right? But Varun Chakravarti's over also wasn't magnificent, right? So if I'm Pakistan at that stage, if I'm the analyst in the dugout, I'm like, guys, the ball's skidding on a little bit more than we expected it to at the moment. And Bumrah is out of those 3 overs. So you're right to look at it from your point. But I think if I'm working with the team, I would have said, we're in a pretty good position here. Why don't we just try and bat normally? And by that, I mean, don't go big, don't go small. If a bad ball comes up, if we need to strike rotate, look for runs for the next 4 overs. If we get to 65 for 2 after 10, we'll have set players and they'll do what Rizwan and Babar can't do, right? They'll start attacking from the 10th over onwards. That would have been the plan. And you're in a position to probably still make 175 to 180. And then it's up to your bowlers to be able to back that up, right? They had that opportunity with them. But it was so bad what they did after then. And maybe that just comes back to the fact that this is to get, without wanting to get too Babar and Rizwan, although I am Babar and Rizwan coded at the moment, but without wanting to get too into their headspace, this is what the issue is. How many world-class batters does Pakistan have? You're going up against a great bowling attack. This is one of the best bowling attacks that's ever existed in T20 cricket, right? Even without the second seamer, right? It's a fantastic bowling attack. And so you're not playing Bangladesh, right? You're not playing the West Indies. You're not playing some of these, UAE, some of these other sides. You're under legitimate pressure, not just to score runs, but to stay in. And you have your 2 most talented players not here on purpose. Don't get me wrong. I'm not standing for Babar and Rizwan. I wouldn't have picked them either. But when you get to to play a team like India, you are playing the most talented players without your most talented players. And it reminds me of that thing that England did in the first ever T20 World Cup, where they turned up with like Mel Loy and people, right? They turned up with those guys and they were like, yeah, you're playing Ricky Ponting guys. Like, I get it, but there is a difference.
Yeah, well, I just showed you guys a Babar Azam poster for those of you who are livid that he isn't here.
He's with us in spirit.
Yeah, look, I mean, there is no guarantee that those guys would have done well. Babar Azam's issues versus spin were quite pronounced in recent times, whether it be slow left armers or wrist spinners. He was failing quite miserably. And, look, Pakistan's scoring rate still wouldn't have changed, although 7 runs in 4 overs post power plays is very ridiculous, right? Then again, I would say that just because the gulf in quality between both sides is so much, I didn't expect much to begin with, but all I wanted from them was to be a bit competitive. We didn't even get that. If anything, Shaheen, flatters them to have taken them to 127.
It wasn't a game, was it?
Yeah, it wasn't. You mentioned the Pakistan analyst and what he would have told the team. I wonder what he told them to do with Abhishek Sharma. Hey guys, this is the part-timer. You score 5 runs off of him, and if there's a full toss, just knock it down to long on for a single.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be interesting to see what Varun would say to this. Like, when that happens, Varun, and he comes on, was it the 9th or 10th over? I'm just trying to bring it up.
That was
here.
11th
11th
over.
over.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's the
They were
11th
49
over.
for 4, right?
Yeah. What message would you have passed out then?
Yeah, get at least 10, right? Surely you have to at that point. At least. Get 1 boundary, something.
There's an argument to be made that if India are going to do that, and he's not going to bowl much in this. Him and Shivan Dubey aren't going to bowl much, right?
Yeah.
But if India are going to do that, is it not your moral, the moral choice to just be like, we have to try and score 18 runs off this over? Because there's going to be another over where we score like 4 runs off Varun or Kuldeep or Bumrah. Right, this is the chance to be able to do that. And look, Abhishek's not the worst part-time bowler in the world, but that's kind of what you have to do, I think, at that point. Even to the point at taking a risk, because I don't see what the point is in if India are going to give you that opportunity, you have to be like, okay, so this is this is a situation where we might lose a wicket in this over, but if we score 20 runs, we've at least dragged ourselves back into the contest, right?
And especially with a team like India, where your weak links in that bowling attack, potential weak links are Akshar and Hardik, because they aren't at Kuldeep, Varun and Bumrah's level. When you get Abhishek, you obviously try to plunder him. They don't do that. Forget Varun Chakravarti. I'm not sure how many runs they would score in an over bowled by Varun Alvaconda, right? Like, that's where we're at currently. And I'm just a bit baffled that they're talking about playing positive cricket and how they want to turn a corner. Had they gotten to... or had they tried to get to the pitch of the deliveries versus spinners and used their feet and got out stumped, I wouldn't have had an issue. They were playing spinners off the back foot, not being able to read them, and that tells me that you don't really know much, right? I don't even play professionally.
To be fair to them, they are faster spinners, so using your feet is tougher. But going off the back foot is a rookie mistake. That's what we were talking about with Ollie Pope, Jarrod.
No, exactly. The other thing I was thinking about, that it was interesting that India also had trouble with that, right? And the commentators, you get yourself into this thing sometimes where you react to the game so much, and the commentators were like, look how much better the Indian batters are handling these sorts of situations. And it's like, yeah, but India was ahead of the rate and was they needed 4 runs and over really early on in that chase. But when the good balls were bowled to them, they struggled. There was a little bit in that wicket, is my point. Like, I'm not saying it was a minefield or anything. Nothing justifies Pakistan, who should have been bowled out for 90. But there's a little bit in that wicket. And because you have to take the positives, right? I know we all laugh at coaches and captains when they say this, but you do actually have to look at this. I'd be looking at the fact that there was a period of time when I think it was Sky tried to sweep one and got one off his gloves. Tilak Varma got one off the back of his bat or somewhere. I don't even know. He ended up on the other side of him. He ends up getting beaten by a ball. If you're going to take any positives, it's from that. But the problem is that if there's anything in the wicket, Pakistan should get bowled out for 120 again. Right? That's the issue here, because we don't think they can stay in, and we also don't think they can put enough pressure back on the other side of the ball by scoring quickly. The only way, this is how I felt, and it'd be interesting to know what you thought, Behram. I thought the only way they were going to make runs today was if Fakhar Zaman just made a big score. Because he's the only guy who I thought had the talent and the hitting potential to do both.
There were 2 guys who I was looking forward to. One was Saim Ayub, and someone in my live stream, I think it was Gaurav Nandan Tripathi from cricket.com, he pointed out that, Saim is also an attacking opening batter, but you look at that first ball dismissal for him, and it's a very soft one. Like, he doesn't even throw the kitchen sink at some width. Imagine Abhishek Sharma versus the same ball, right? And he pointed out how Saim's grip is higher up or closer to the bat, whereas Abhishek has that Abdul Razak kind of grip, where there is a bit of daylight between his gloves and the start of the blade. And it's interesting how that exact same ball, even if Abhishek Sharma doesn't connect, he's hitting it on top of the inner ring circle, whereas Saim Ayub gives Jasprit Bumrah catching practice. Literally the only other guy was Fakhar Zaman, and he did get off to a good start, but then ultimately I don't fault him too much. He tried to get to the pitch of the ball and smash Akshar. It was his matchup. Toe ends it, skies it, gets out. But yes, in terms of the batting, I think those two guys had to be the ones for Pakistan.
So Saim Ayub is quite interesting. I'll let Varun say this, but I looked up the stats, and he is one of the worst players in the world when he comes in for the first over of a T20 game. And why I find that fascinating is they have 19 other openers in this side. I keep adding openers to the list. But what was it? Do you remember the stats, Varun?
Was it 20? No, who shared this? Sharon shared it. It's like 9.99 or something, isn't it?
Yeah, he averages 20 overall in all T20 cricket in the first over, which is quite low, but at less than a run a ball, Behram. So it's not 20 and I'm smashing the ball everywhere. It's 20 and I'm not smashing the ball everywhere. And then for Pakistan, he averages 9 in that first over, right? So the jump up of talent of bowlers is causing him a bit of an issue. And you've got all these other openers. That is something that, like, it'd be worth just pointing that out to some people in the Pakistan setup and just to say. But yeah, again, you're right. He was the other player that I expected something from. And I suppose he ends up having a pretty good game, doesn't he?
Yeah, I mean, with the ball then. He does provide Pakistan with some balance, and he's a high-performing... I think he's actually moved up to batting all-rounder from high-performing part-timer, because with the carom ball, he can turn the ball in both directions. You've got the conventional off-break and the carom ball, so at least he's a decent fifth bowling, if not sixth bowling option, right? So I think Pakistan can still build on this. The issue over here is that they don't have any middle-order batters, right? It's not like they are doing this intentionally. They've got to slot in Fakhar Zaman at 4, for instance, because where else do you bat? Mohammad Haris is a walking wicket in the middle overs versus spin. You either bat him in the power play or you bring him towards the death, the last 3-4 overs. So he is limited, right? Similarly, Hassan Nawaz, he is supposed to be a really good middle order batter, and he's done well versus weaker sides. Now he's coming up against quality opposition. He struggled versus Afghanistan spinners as well, and now versus India as well. I mean, look, he tried in a couple of games, but he is slightly, like, we are now seeing that regression because he's coming up against better players. A lot of it is just, it comes down to quality, but I think the approach was also terrible from Pakistan. Like, you can't be telling the media that, hey, we're trying to play positive cricket now and we're catching up to the modern day game. This was triple old school today. Right?
Well, I mean, they didn't catch up to many things. So I've got to go. I'll leave you guys to chat. But I think you're right. The interesting thing here is that what it looks like at the moment is, as I said, this younger team developing, but it does feel like they have an issue where they're not quite experienced enough to understand what moments they need to press and what they don't, like the Abhishek Sharma moment, as we said before. But also, there seems like there is a quality issue. Like, it does seem like a double issue for me. Now, maybe some of those guys over the next 2, 3, 4 years develop and get better and everything changes. But as we sit here at the moment, you do look at that and go, I don't want these guys facing Kuldeep Yadav and Varun Chakravarti and Jasprit Bumrah. And I don't mean, I don't think they can hit them. I don't think they can stay in against them, right? Yeah. And that is what it looked like today, and that is the big issue. Anyway, I'm going to head off. It's been an absolute pleasure. You two wibble as long as you want. There's some super chats there as well. But I've got to go put a daughter to bed and all those sorts of things.
Fair enough. All right, cheers. Bye-bye, Jarrod, and welcome back, Varun. Is this the first unofficial episode of the Kazakonda show then?
I feel like we have 5 of them at unofficial first episodes.
Can't be that.
Do you want to do super chats or anything else?
Well, let's take super chats in a sec. I just want to talk about what Jarrod was saying, that there is an issue in the sense that quality is not up to par. We've been saying this, by the way. Pakistan aren't amongst the best sides in the world, and they can't do forget India, they can't do what South Africa or Australia or even England do, right? Like, there is an issue over there. But I want to give them time to either succeed or fail. It's an imperfect team. It's a team with holes. But if I'm really clutching at straws, the fielding, barring that Nawaz dropped catch, was all right. In fact, India dropped 2, right? One by Tilak, there was a drop catch, and then one by Kuldeep. So you could say Pakistan had a better game in the field. Maybe. There's a big maybe over there. And then again, it was India. I don't think this is a fair metric to judge them. But then again, I feel like Pakistan will have to play really good cricket to play the final of the Asia Cup. And now I have said my piece. Let's move on to Super Chats. Mr. Alvacondanese. All right. Rohan Kapoor says, men versus boys, confidence versus cowardice, better team versus not so good team. Right?
Yeah, that's basically it. I don't think it's... You could be as confident as you want. You can't overcome skill. I think confidence matches if you're similarly skilled. I think that's fair to say.
Yeah. I think that you could have the best captain and the best tactics or approach and you could still lose on quality. Over here, the approach was also faltered. And ultimately, I suppose men versus boys is fair because on one hand, you've got potentially the best T20 team in the world. And Pakistan is a team which was failing miserably for 2 years. And whilst they are slightly better than before, it is a team in transition, which is mediocre. I think that's fair to say.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Yeah. Next super chat. Got Devang Mehta. He says, against better teams, should Arshdeep play ahead of Dubey? I don't think it'll happen. Gautam Gambhir is obsessed with all-rounders and playing the deeper batting lineup. And in T20s, it makes somewhat sense. And he could win the entire Asia Cup doing what India are doing right now. But I would like them to try it maybe in the dead rubber coming up, right? Why not, Varun?
Yeah, definitely. I understand that. Let's say that the way I look at it, you look at the players you have available and then you decide, okay, are you going to out-bat or generally, or are you going to out-bowl, right? In general, I do think India should be looking at out-batting teams. For example, if any of the 4 bowlers that we always talk about are injured, then I'd just go batting heavy. Like I don't see any point in having like a Harshit Rana instead of Bumrah batting at 8. Like you just won't gain anything. You might as well play a batsman for them, right? But you have all of those for available. I'd look to play all of them, just to go and attack because you'll be putting so much pressure with the bat anyway, right? And it's, let's say, unlike like a KRL or Virat, and there is no gulbisable batters in this team.
Yeah.
I think maybe, I don't know, maybe Tilak can be gulbist. I don't know. I don't think I've ever seen him be gulbist. So like that's the way I would be tempted to try going all front.
The thing is that the gulf in quality is so much, especially when you compare India to an associate team, that you could just sacrifice a batter and still not get gulbist, right? Like, am I making sense?
Yeah, I think I completely get your point. This is the tournament they could have tried it, right? Just to see, will the batters slow down and if won't they slow down or something? Yeah.
By the way, I just want to throw this out there. My pre-tournament prediction in my multiple previews across multiple channels was that Kuldeep Yadav will be highest wicket taker. He is player of the match in 2 successive games now. He's got 7 wickets. So just want to mention that, Put that out there. Yeah. All right. The next is from Surya Bhamidipati. I think I've got your name correctly. He says, thump chest and say you won't play a compromise. Well, I'm sure that you've said it correctly. He says, thump chest and say you won't play a compromise on principle. Number 2, end up playing because cash grab. Number 3, play for 3-4 hours and then draw the line at shaking hands. Number 4, stood your ground by doing so. I can somewhat understand handshake gate. They're getting so much flack, the cricketers, for no reason. It's their job and... I mean, if you want to criticize someone, criticize, the government or the BCCI or whatever. It's not on the cricketers. They don't deserve any slander. And if they have chosen to not shake hands just because they don't want to get berated on media or social media, I can still understand that. Although it still does kind of hurt my heart that we've got to this position in the first place where it's a common thing in all of sport and we haven't seen it.
I honestly don't know what's happened there. Like, I just missed this whole thing. So, yeah.
Also, I think everyone had a right to boycott the game, by the way. It's your choice. But then if you were saying big things and you ultimately watched the game because India beating Pakistan, if anything, that makes sense to watch the game. Doesn't all of that talk come down to some useless moral posturing?
Yes, I've also heard that the reason they don't want to do it is because potentially India want to host an Olympic tournament. I've heard that's what I've heard. And then you don't want to look as the team that just won't play another country. So I don't know what's the truth there. But honestly, I don't
pick
care.
a side. You pick a side, honestly.
Yeah,
there is a bit of hypocrisy, and even some leftists from India have taken the government to the cleaners. I don't want to get too much into this. All I'll say is that I have my sympathies with the Indian players just because I know that this handshake gate has stemmed from the fact that they don't want to get absolutely slammed in the media. So I think that's fair. I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
Why do the players get blamed this anyway? They're professionals. It's their job to go out there on the field and play this goddamn sport.
Yeah, it is. So much is going on there. All right, so the next question is... All right.
Navdeep Singh Bajaj, he was there on my Pro Sports Live as well. He's here as well. He says, why did Salman not speak in post-match pressure and no hand? Again, can't speak much to this. Dude, I was in front of you on the Pro Sports Live. Literally 5 minutes, or not even 5 minutes after that, I've jumped onto this stream. I don't know why Salman didn't speak. If there was no, or there were no handshakes, then is that really a bigger story than Salman not speaking? Although I do think that both of these things shouldn't have happened. I think given the political tension between both sides, we let these things slide for the time being. I'm fine with that.
Yeah, I did not watch the post-match at all. I barely paid attention after Abhishek got out.
Yeah, it was a tough game to watch in both innings at times. But Abhishek Sharma's shots were delightful. Honestly, loved it.
They're absolutely brilliant. And I think we're done with the super shots.
No, we have one more. No, we don't.
We are. That was the last one.
Damn. So all of our third innings was sitcom length up until now.
Yeah.
And now we finally pulled off a 40-minute episode. Varun, please be a dear and create the Trello for this and whatnot. I'm slammed. I'm just exhausted by now. Yeah. But thank you guys for coming in with your interactions and your super chats. We really, really appreciate them. And once again, remember, this is a sport. Let it be a sport. Enjoy it as a sport. And obviously, just to mention, I don't know if Jarrod mentioned this earlier or not, but all of our podcasts on the Good Areas Network, they are powered by our supporters on Patreon. You can become one of them by going to Patreon/Good Areas Podcast, and that way you can enjoy ad-free content, talk to us exclusively, and give us podcast recommendations as well. And a quick reminder for all of you, another one is that you can go to goodareas.co and bookmark that webpage, and that can prove to be your one-stop shop for all the fun work that we do as part of this team, whether it be written content, videos, or podcasts. Thank you so much. And enjoy the Asia Cup. Hopefully we'll get a close game soon enough. But that's all for today. Any closing notes, Varun? Do you want to add something?
Yeah, I hope we get a close game finally. Like, it's been such a shit Asia Cup, man.
Yeah.
I have no recollection of this tournament, as I mentioned in the previous third innings I was in. Yeah.
We didn't even get a close Nagin derby, man. That was so disappointing.
That hurt me more than this game, by the way. I expected this. That pissed me off. Like, that genuinely upset me.
I had a French friend over. He's a French person who works for the New York Times, and he's in Pakistan, and he has never watched cricket before, or had never watched cricket before. And I was like, come over, I'll introduce you to the sport. And I was like, don't bother watching this game, man. It's done already. Bangladesh are none for 2 and 2 overs. You can spend your time talking to the rest of the people in this room. Forget cricket. But anyway, here's to hoping that it picks up and eventually we get some close games. And yeah, once again, thanks to all of you for turning up. We'll see you soon enough. That's all for today. Have a good one and goodbye.
Ross Taylor couldn't see at night or when the clouds were in. Eventually he had to see an eye specialist who would fix his eyesight. In the 2 years before the change, he still averaged more than 50 in international cricket. The top level of batting talent can basically see in the dark. That is who we are talking about in our new book, The Art of Batting. Head over and order your copy today. This video is brought to you by our supporters on Patreon. If you want to be part of the community that makes content like this, head over now.